Hey guys, today I am sharing with you my coconut bake dinner rolls. Coconut bake and dinner rolls mixed together to the perfect fluffy little bun. Now, if you know, coconut bake can be a little bit more in the denser size. These have the same flavor as a coconut bake, but it is so soft and fluffy and it is delicious. And everyone absolutely loves it every time I make it. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to add to my bowl here some coconut milk. This is some unsweetened coconut milk. You can use the can or you can use the one that comes in the little container. Just make sure that it is just coconut milk, coconut and water essentially. So I'm going to add that to my bowl, as well as I'm going to add in some water. I will have all the amounts listed below in the description box for you. Now I'm going to go ahead and place this in my microwave for about 30 to 45 seconds just to warm it up till it's nice and warm to touch. To that, I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and we're going to give that a stir. I prefer to use brown sugar in this recipe because it just adds more flavor to my coconut bake rolls. I'm going to add in some unsalted butter. I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons, and I'm just kind of cutting up into smaller pieces. The warm milk will kind of just make this softened. What we're looking for is softened butter. You don't want it really to be melted, so this is why I like to do it this way. I'm going to give that a stir into our warm milk, and then we're going to add in our yeast. I am using active dry yeast. You can use active dry or instant yeast, it really doesn't matter. I prefer proofing my yeast either way, but you want to use 1 packet of yeast or about 2 1/4 teaspoons. Give that a stir around, and we're going to set that aside. That's my dog shaking. We're going to go ahead, set this aside, and let that yeast kind of bloom and activate and do what it has to do. If a little bit of yeast is stuck to the butter, that's okay. Just give it a mix as best as you possibly can. And let's move over to our dry ingredients. So in my mixing bowl here, I will be mixing this with my stand mixer. You can obviously do this by hand. I have lots of recipes, and I'll see if I can leave those linked down below where you can knead dough by hand, where I show you how to do it. So in my bowl, I'm adding in 3 cups of regular all-purpose flour. This is organic, organic flour. You can use bread flour if you want, and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, we're also going to need some unsweetened coconut flakes. These are some Great Value organic ones. You can use any kind, but you want to make sure that it's unsweetened. If you only have sweetened, you can go ahead and use it. Your bread will be a little bit sweeter. And we're going to add this to a small blender. I'm going to add in about 3/4 cup. You can add anywhere from 3/4 cup to 1 cup of this. I think 3/4 cup is a perfect amount because this will be running throughout the bread beautifully. So we're going to go ahead and pulse this now. You can use a food processor or a small blender or anything. We're just going to pulse this and give it a shake every so often because it needs that little shake to make sure all of it is getting blended up. And what happens is it's going to turn into this fine crumb. And I'm going to show you here in a second what it's going to look like. But you don't want to add this fully just to your bread because it's just going to be too much. So you definitely, here I'm struggling to put this thing on, but you definitely want to blend this for a few minutes just until it becomes like a kind of like powder. We're not looking for coconut flour here, but it's going to be a lot finer in texture. And there you see it's a lot finer in texture. It kind of looks like grated coconut, like freshly grated coconut, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and add this mixture to my flour and my salt. I am mixing together that flour and that salt really well before I add in my coconut, because you don't want to add in your coconut and then a bunch of salt sticks to one section of the coconut. Yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and mix that salt and flour really well together first, and then we're going to add in our coconut that we've just finely blended up. Give that a nice flufferoo with your hands just to make sure everything is getting incorporated. And all we're going to do is add our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients. But before we do that, we cannot forget a very important ingredient. So after I finish fluffing this up, our vanilla extract. I love to add vanilla extract when I'm making my bread because it just adds such a great flavor. And this is a coconut flavor that we already have. So adding that vanilla to the coconut is just perfection. I'm going in with 2 tablespoons, yes, 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. I really want all of these flavors to be beautifully balanced, and I'm looking for something delicious. So yes, 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. And now I'm just gonna add 1 large egg also to my wet ingredients. It's crazy how my mind forgets everything. We're gonna go ahead and get 1 large egg and get it into our wet ingredients, and we're gonna add our wet to our dry. My yeast was blooming beautifully. You could see how it was becoming thick and just frothy. And I just made a well in the center of my flour, and I just adding all that scrape. Make sure and scrape everything off the bottom of that bowl. I'm gonna add this to my mixer now in about medium low speeders though. I just wanted to scrape every last bit of that liquid that's at the bottom of my bowl. That's what you see me added in there. Yeah, we're just gonna let this go for about 4 minutes or so, 4 to 5 minutes. I love when I make a dough and I can have a clean bowl like this right here, where I don't have to add any more flour, any more liquid. That is just such a blessing to me. And I am always so blessed and grateful for these recipes. So you can see after about 5 minutes, this has come together absolutely beautifully. And it is such a soft dough. It is insanely soft. I can't even. I love dough. I love working with dough because it's just so amazing. So I have a little bit of coconut oil here. I'm going to use about 1 to 2 teaspoons of coconut oil just to toss this around so nothing sticks while this is raising. So I'm just tossing it around in that coconut oil, and I'm trying to get that coconut oil also around the edges of my bowl because this will rise up and we don't want anything to really stick too much. You can use unrefined or regular coconut oil, and I'm just showing you how soft and beautiful this dough is. We're going to cover this up and let this sit for about an hour to an hour and a half or so until it's doubled in size. After it has doubled in size or a little bit more, we're going to go ahead and on a baking tray that I've lined with parchment paper, I'm just going to plop my dough carefully onto my surface here or my tray. I'm going to cut this dough in half, and I'm going to work with a half at a time. So just using a regular kitchen knife, or if you have any fancy tools you want to use. I'm just using a knife. I'm cutting this in half, placing the other half back into my bowl so I can work with that at a later time. I'm going to take 1/2 and just kind of stretch it out into a log. I'm being very gentle with this. I'm absolutely not trying to deflate this at all. If it gets a little deflated, that's okay, but I'm not trying to. I'm going to cut this in 5 times to get 6 rolls. So this will make about 12 rolls. I'm holding each piece in my hand, and I'm just taking the ends and turning it over onto itself. And then I'm going to take those ends that I turned over, and I'm going to pinch them, just so I can make a roll. And then I'm going to flatten that down and roll it in the palm of my hand so it's nice and round and flat at the bottom as best as possible. And place this on your tray. Again, here I'm going to just take the edges, just tuck it under. We're just going to tuck under and seal and pinch and roll, and you got yourself a dinner roll. I'm going to place these on my tray about 1 inch away from each other or so, 1 inch to 1.5 inches. You don't want them to be too far apart because I like when I bake my rolls for them to be touching so they kind of adhere together. So just about 1 inch or so. I'm doing my next half of my dough here, finishing up my dinner rolls. Now we're going to go ahead and proof this and let this rest again for another 20 to 30 minutes. It's really important that you don't let this rest for too long because it will start to deflate. So 20 to 30 minutes is all it really takes. Cover it up with some cling wrap, place it in a warm area, have your oven already preheated to 350 so this can go immediately into a ready hot oven. Bake for about 23 minutes, 25 minutes or so until golden brown on top, and that is it. Brush them liberally with butter. It is going to be so good. I love to serve this with butter in the center because there is no better way. Have a roll with butter. Made this, this is 2 different times that I made this and you're seeing different clips, but it is delicious either way. Honestly, they're such a treat. They're so delicious. I hope that you guys try this. If you try it, let me know in the comments down below. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.